as we saw earlier, there are only 3 topics discussed in the whole of the Karma Yoga explanation part. There are only 3 topics. So, Karma Upasana Samuchchayaha topic is over. We completed that. Now we are going to see Upasana Dvaya Samuchchayaha. So, synthesis of 2 upasanas. And the pattern of teaching is the same. Again, here also there are 3 verses. The 12th, the 13th, 9, 10, 11 we saw. Now we are going to see 12, 13, 14. So 12th was using the same Nahi Ninda Nyaya condemns the individual upasanam. And then it establishes how the 2 different upasanas are independently productive, effective. Thereafter it also talks about the upasana phalam. Samuchchaya upasana dvaya samuchchaya phalam also it establishes, presents. The benefit of combining 2 upasanams is presented in the 14th verse. So the 13th verse establishes how the 2 upasanas are effective. The first verse condemns the practicing only one upasana without combining it with other upasana. So here mainly upasanam, even though we in the karma kanda, the upasana kanda prescribes many upasanams, upasanam itself, the very word upasanam means what? This also I told many times before. You all must be remembering. Upa means near. Asana means seat. So sitting near or being seated near is upasana. So what should be seated near what? So which means the mind, placing the attention of the mind on something is being nearest. That is why you are near somebody whom you are thinking of. Isn't it? Physically you'll be sitting very close to another person. In the mind you are thinking of somebody else. Actually you are much closer to that person than this person. Physical closeness, there's distance. In mental closeness, there's no distance. Isn't it? Really speaking. But we don't see that way, isn't it? But actually upasanam itself is placing the mind, attention of the mind near something. Where is Shankar? Huh? That we can do afterwards, no, Shankar. These what all other things sometimes take the time. It's really very sad thing, isn't it? We are coming for one day, and the one day is for half a day you do other things. I really don't treat it as a retreat. For me, retreat means at least one should go for 1 week, stay for 1 week, study intensely for 1 week, make the best use of your stay there, and really you go back having learnt a lot. You're coming and settling registration one day, go next day, you have to pack and go. I yesterday said, no, nothing doing, we won't go in half a day, I said. Anyway, so I need to talk to people in front of me, isn't it? I can't talk to walls. At least anybody will be sitting in front of me. See, so what happens? So upasana, the combination or synthesis of 2 upasanas is the discussion of these 3 mantras, of the discussion discussed in these 3 mantras. So the same way how previously we saw practicing one karma, only one thing, without the other, combining it with the other, leads one to, one will go to Andam Tamaha, one will go to Naraka, we saw. The same way here also is an exaggeration, isn't it, of the result being said here. If you practice only one Upasanam, you'll go to Andam Tamaha. Same thing is presented here also. It's also for, actually nothing much to understand the first verse. But, Upasanam here is, pay attention on something. And here, what are you focusing on? The object of meditation that's why object of meditation is definitely different from you. And you are the meditator. Object of meditation is different. That is why we call it Upasanam. Suppose if the object of meditation is your own Swarupam, if the attention of the mind is placed on the very nature of reality, understood as the very Swarupam of the very knower, then there is no difference, isn't it? The object of meditation is the very Swarupam of the knower, the subject. Then we call it contemplation. That's also mental activity. But when you call it meditation, that's also mental activity, meditation, isn't it? So contemplation is meditation because it is a mental activity. But meditation is not contemplation, even though it is mental activity. Why? Because the object of meditation is other than the self. That is the big difference. So here, what is the Upasanam? What is the object of meditation here? Hiranyagarbha Upasanam. Hiranyagarbha. Upasanam is one Upasanam. Another Upasanam is Avyakrita Upasanam. Or you can say Hiranyagarbha Upasanam or Avyakrita Upasanam. We have two Upasanams. So here Hiranyagarbha, who is Hiranyagarbha again? When you say Hiranyagarbha, it is Samashti Sukshma Prapancha, the entire subtle universe is implied by the term Hiranyagarbha. Subtle means what? All the manifest powers put together is, we say, Hiranyagarbha. All the powers means what? You can say, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Ichcha Shakti. Every individual, with the power obtaining in every individual, we call it Adhyatma Shakti. The total power we say, Adidaiva Shakti. So the total power of, the power obtaining in an individual, we say, suppose, Indriyam is a Vyakti Shakti, individual power. Devata is the total power of corresponding power. Corresponding total power is called Devata. All the Devatas, totality of the totality, all the powers is what? Hiranyagarbha. So you can include what now? Samashti Prana Shakti. Now we have individual Prana Shakti. Now Vyashti Prana Shakti obtains in every individual. So Vyashti Prana Shakti, there is a corresponding Samashti Prana Shakti, total Prana Shakti. Then Vyashti individual Indriya Shakti, isn't it? Then the total Indriya Shakti. Individual Indriya means Karmendriya, Jnanendriya Shakti, isn't it? Then corresponding total powers. So total you can say Jnana Shakti. Individual Jnana Shakti, corresponding total Jnana Shakti. Individual Prana Shakti, corresponding total Prana Shakti. So individual Kriya Shakti and then total Kriya Shakti. So Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Ichcha Shakti. We have to say in the Prana Shakti, you can say Samashti Prana, isn't it? All these powers, total power is what? We say Hiranyagarbha. So total minds. Individual mind, total mind. So total mind is what? Total mind, total intellect means what? Total Kriya Shakti, total Jnana Shakti. The power of activity, power of knowledge. Total power. So power, all subtle powers in its powers in their entirety, together we can say what Ishvaraha, no, Hiranyagarbheshwaraha, or Hiranyagarbha, the Lord we say. And this Hiranyagarbha also has beginning. Subtle universe means what? Just as your prana has a beginning, your mind has a beginning, isn't it? Beginning, and similarly it also resolves. In the Srishti it has beginning and Pralaya it ends. Ends means what? Resolves. Again becomes manifest, isn't it? Like that here also Samashti Pranaha. So the Hiranyagarbha also is not only difference between Hiranyagarbha and you is the Vyashti, that is Samashti. That's the difference. Individual powers, total powers. It's the totality of the powers. Is Hiranyagarbha. It's like a wave and ocean. Totality is the difference. No difference, the same thing. Is it clear? Similarly, how your physical body is individual, elemental. Similarly, the external gross universe is totality of the elemental universe, isn't it? So, like we call it Virat. But here we are having Hiranyagarbha only as object of meditation. Hiranyagarbha Upasanam. Therefore, manifest is what? Always the universe, the subtle manifestation, known by the term Hiranyagarbha, also has a beginning. And then because it has a beginning, Hiranyagarbha has beginning, Hiranyagarbha has end also. Getting the point what I'm saying? The subtle universe has a beginning. There's a time it comes into manifestation. It again tends also, isn't it? Subtle powers. Therefore, it is end also. That's what is Hiranyagarbha here, isn't it? That's what you're going to see. So what it's going to say, and then we can say Vyakrita. Hiranyagarbha is an effect. Therefore, because it comes into existence, it's called effect, isn't it? Karyam. Karyam Brahma. Karyam Brahma means what? It is a product. The manifest powers, subtle manifest universe is what? Karyam Brahma. Karyam means effect. Whereas there is a Karanam also we have. The Karanam means what now? We say Karanam is manifest is Karyam. Unmanifest Karanam we say. So Karanam is called Avyakritam. Maya, Avyakritam. We have another word also, Avidya. We use all these terms. Avidya, Maya, Avyakritam. All these words we have. So, Avyakrita Upasanam. Then Hiranyagarbha Upasanam. We have two Upasanams. One is the meditation upon the Avyakritam and meditation upon the Hiranyagarbha. Two Upasanas. So, two Upasanams, each Upasanam is independently, individually effective. Each can produce its own phalam. Got it? Hiranyagarbha Upasana by itself is an Angi. And then Avyakrita Upasanam also is an Angi. Why? Because it also can produce an effect by itself. Therefore, they both are combinable. Samuchayaha, combination, synthesis of these two Upasanams is possible. Why? Because they both are independently productive. Is it clear? So, in the verse, the 12th verse, Upasanam in the Upanishad, like the previous verse, it condemns the independent, Upasanam, individually practiced Upasanam. It's exaggerated, expression that those who practice only one goes to, whoever practice goes to Andam Tamaha. Yeah, same way. Let us read that now. Andham tamaf pravishanti ye asambhutim upasate tato bhuyaiva te tamo ya u sambhutyagam rataha. Okay. So, andham tamaha pravishanti te. Those people enter into blinding darkness. Means they'll continue to remain, in darkness. Which means they will not benefit. They will not benefit at all. Like that, something it said. Why? It's simply for making the person do both upasanams. It says only if you perform only one, it is of no use. To say that andam tamaha pravishanti, they enter into blinding darkness. Who? Ye asambhutim upasate. So we have to be very careful here. Asambhutihi. Now, these are the words you have to learn. See, the word sambhutihi. Say no? Sambhutihi. Sambhutihi Sambhutihi means coming into existence. Origination or coming into existence is called Sambhutihi. Sambhutihi is a feminine gender word. And we have another word, Sambhavaha. Sambhavaha also what now? Coming into existence, origination. That is a masculine gender word. Sambhavaha, Sambhutihi mean the same. Sambhutihi, Sambhavaha, both the words mean the same. Coming into existence. And here, Sambhutihi, origination, but because Hiranyagarbha has origination, originates, comes into existence, Hiranyagarbha is implied by the term Sambhutihi. Sambhutihi literally means coming into existence, origination. But because Hiranyagarbha has origination, comes into existence, isn't it? Hiranyagarbha is implied by the term Sambhutihi. So Sambhutihi is the name of Hiranyagarbha. Is it clear? This called coming into existence is the attribute of the dharma of Hiranyagarbha. So dharma is taken to be the name of the dharmi, the one who is with that attribute. Is it clear now? So therefore Sambhutihi means Hiranyagarbha. So Asambhutihi. Asambhutihi means what now? That which, so Hiranyagarbha comes into existence because it has a beginning. Because it has a beginning, Hiranyagarbha also has what? End. Anything which has a beginning should have an end also. Jayate jatasya mrityuho dhruvaha mritasya janma dhruvam. You know that very well. Therefore, Hiranyagarbha is Sambhutihi. Because he has Sambhuti. Isn't it? Therefore, even though I use the word Hiranyagarbha, don't take it, okay? It's Samashti Shakti. The total powers. So, the subtle, because Hiranyagarbha has the beginning, has the end also. Therefore, Vinashaha. And in this mantra we are going to see 3 words are used to mean Hiranyagarbha in these mantras. Sambhutihi means in this mantra Hiranyagarbha. And then Sambhavaha also means Hiranyagarbha. And then one more word, Vinashaha also is, Vinashaha means destruction. But Vinashaha literally means destruction. But the Hiranyagarbha is known by the term destruction here. Why? Destruction asya asti iti. No? One who is subject to get resolved, one who has an end is also called what? Ended. Okay? Vinashaha. So 3 words are used here. Sambhutihi, Sambhavaha, Vinashaha. You should remember you have to listen very carefully. Don't think these things are not important for me. Okay? Learning means all these things you have to learn. That is why carefully listen, and even at least you can write in English at least what is being said. So Sambhavaha, the thing is, literally if you see the word, at least you people have no problem. Indians have their own meanings also. Sambhutihi, is a feminine form of the word sambhavaha. Isn't it? So sambhutihi, sambhavaha, both the words mean coming into existence, newly, isn't it? Which means being born. That's called sambhutihi. But here, Hiranyagarbha has the beginning, has the birth, isn't it? Therefore, Hiranyagarbha is known by the word sambhutihi and sambhavaha. And because so Hiranyagarbha has the beginning, Hiranyagarbha has an end also. There's a time the entire subtle universe has to resolve, isn't it? Therefore, it has vinashaha also. Even though the word vinashaha literally means destruction, here the word vinashaha is the name of Hiranyagarbha. Why? Because the one who has beginning, the one who has an end, is known by these two terms, sambhavaha, sambhutihi, vinashaha. Is it clear? These are three words used. You have to remember these three names of Hiranyagarbha. So, what is that which does not come into existence? That which does not come into existence means that which has no beginning. That which is there beginninglessly. Understand? So, Hiranyagarbha comes into existence means there's a cause for Hiranyagarbha. Isn't it? Whereas there's something which has no cause, which is uncreated, which has not come into existence, which is already there. What is that which is already there, uncreated, anadihi, is called Maya. Maya. The cause, isn't it? So what is it which does not come into existence is the cause. Cause does not come into existence, isn't it? Effect alone comes into existence. So Hiranyagarbha is the effect. Whereas Karanam does not come into existence. Therefore, Karanam, because cause does not come into existence, it is not born, isn't it? Does not originate. The Karanam is said to be what now? It is avyakritam, unmanifest. So effect is manifestation. Cause is unmanifest. Is it clear now? Therefore, unmanifest, avyakritam means unmanifest. Unmanifest means cause. Cause of what? No? Cause of everything, isn't it? We are going to see that. So cause. So that avyakrita upasana, meditation upon avyakritam, and meditation upon Hiranyagarbha. So that's what, because the cause is called what here? Asambhutihi. The big cause is beginningless, cause is uncreated, cause does not come into existence newly. Therefore, we say what now? Cause is called asambhutihi. So asambhutihi is equal to avyakritam, unmanifest. Unmanifest is equal to cause. Cause is equal to Maya. Maya is also what? Ajnanam. You can say that also. Okay, Ajnanam is always equated to Maya. Know that. The Vyashti level Ajnanam, Samashti level Maya. It's equated, isn't it? Like how Vyashti Prana is equated to Samashti Prana. Vyashti Indriyam is equal to Samashti Indriyam. Vyashti Sukshma, individual subtle body, the total subtle body, isn't it? Individual mind, total minds. Like that here also the ignorance, avidya, is equated to what? Maya. So we say avyakritam is the unmanifest. Unmanifest here means what? The cause. Cause is what? That which has no beginning. Is it clear? No beginning. That which has no beginning, therefore it is called what? Asambhutihi. So the word Sambhutihi implies Hiranyagarbha. Asambhutihi implies Avyakrita Maya. Here two, Sambhuti Upasana, Asambhuti Upasana. What does it mean? Sambhuti Upasana means Hiranyagarbha Upasana, Avyakrita Upasana, Maya Upasana. Is it clear? These Upasana. So he says, those people who meditate upon Asambhutihi, Maya, or Avyakritam, Avyakritam means what? Cause is called avyakritam. Any cause, no, cause is unmanifest. Suppose, for example, I give you, we see the wood here, isn't it? Suppose a piece of wood. Take the piece of wood. You don't see table, just the piece of wood. Yeah, the piece of wood, in that piece of wood, table, or a big log of wood. The table, chair, all varieties of furnitures, they're all already there or not? Very much there. But can I differentiate table, chair, etc.? You can't differentiate them. Table, chair, all the furnitures are there very much in the logs of wood, but undifferentiated. They're unmanifest, isn't it? Is it clear now what I'm saying? Similarly here also, what is that which is unmanifest? Why any cause is, you can say unmanifest. The very cause is implied by the term unmanifest. Very word unmanifest. Avyakritam. And it has no beginning. Cause has no beginning. Here cause is not created, no origination, isn't it? It is independent. Independent means not independent, it has no beginning. Therefore it is called asambhutihi. So here he says, Ye asambhutim upasate, those people who meditate upon avyakritam or asambhutihi, the karanam, the cause, only on this, such people will go to andam tamaha, will enter into blinding darkness. Which means it won't be very effective. That's what they want to say. Similarly, then there's the next line. Ye asambhutyam rataha. Those people, the other group of people, there's a group of people who focus only on meditation upon asambhutihi, avyakritam. Such people also will enter into much worse, much more, they enter into much more blinding darkness. They'll enter into, what does it mean? Which means they will go to Narakam. They won't have any benefit at all. They won't enjoy any benefit. It is only for emphasizing the importance of combination. This is a verse of exaggeration, where really speaking, Hiranyagarbha Upasana by itself is independently effective. We are going to say, that is why it's called Angi. Isn't it? The very fact it is called Angi because it is effective. That is why it's eligible for combining with some other Angi, isn't it? Both Upasanams individually, independently are effective. They produce good phalams. It's clear. Therefore, when the Upanishad says andam tamaha pravishanti, they enter into blinding darkness, we should not take it very seriously. Okay, now sambhutihi, asambhutihi. Asambhutihi means karanam. Sambhutihi is karyam. Karanam is what? Avyakritam. Karyam is what? Hiranyagarbha. Cause, effect. Karanam, cause is what? Asambhutihi, which has no beginning. Uncreated, it's uncreated. Whereas sambhutihi is what? Sambhutihi, which has a beginning, which is an effect. Effect has a beginning. Cause has no beginning. Have you got it? That is why here we say sambhutihi, asambhutihi. Sambhuti upasana, asambhuti upasana means what? Avyakrita upasana, hiranyagarbha upasana. Okay. Therefore, now we are going to see the next verse. Anyadevahuhu sambhavat anyadahuhu asambhavat iti shushruma dhiranam ye nastad vyachachakshire. Okay. So, anyadeva ahuhu. Again, anyat Ahu means people say. Which people generally say? Who say? Ye naha tad vyachachakshire. Or vichachakshire. The people who had taught us before. People who had taught us, not directly they taught us. They taught our teachers, taught our teachers' teachers. Those people, isn't it? Which is the timelessly, the wisdom which has been flowing downwards through the parampara. Therefore, from that sampradaya with Vidaha, from those teachers, we know, we heard this. We heard them telling. What is that they say? Anyat. Anyat means different, distinct, other. Distinct of what? Here, sambhavat. See, now in this mantra, sambhutihi, the previous verse, what was meant by the word sambhutihi, is mentioned here as sambhavaha. That is why I said, sambhutihi is a feminine gender word, sambhavaha is a masculine gender word. Both the words mean what? Origination, beginning, isn't it? Coming into existence. Therefore, both the words mean whom? Hiranyagarbha. Got it? Therefore, sambhavaha, here instead of using the word sambhutihi, here he uses the term sambhavaha. That is why when you go back from Ishavasana Upanishad class, what we heard so many things, sambhavaha, sambhutihi, what are those words, isn't it? Sambhavaha is equal to Hiranyagarbha. So he says, then asambhavaha means what? Asambhutihi is avyakritam maya karanam. Cause. So here asambhavaha is equal to cause, the maya, unmanifest. Asambhutihi is equal to asambhavaha. Asambhavaha is equal to the unmanifest cause. So sambhutihi, sambhavaha is equal to hiranyagarbha, the effect, subtle manifestation. Okay, so here, sambhavat anyadeva ahuhu. Sambhavat means sambhava upasanat. Isn't it? By meditating upon hiranyagarbha, there is a distinct, one can attain distinct result, different result. Similarly, anyadahuhu asambhavat. There is definitely a distinct, different result one can get by meditating upon asambhavaha. Asambhavaha means what? Avyakritam. Avyakritam means what? Maya. So asambhavaha karanam. So karana upasanam, karya upasanam. Hiranyagarbha upasanam, maya upasanam. Sambhuti upasanam, asambhuti upasanam. Sambhava upasanam, asambhava upasanam. All these words have sound. Don't you understand, bit? Very simple. Aren't they? Words are different. We understand only one thing, isn't it? Cause, meditation upon cause, meditation upon effect. Total. Hiranyagarbha means total manifest powers, isn't it? Got it? Therefore, asambhavat, sambhavat, anyad ahuhu. What does it mean? There is a benefit of meditating upon Hiranyagarbha. There is a benefit of meditating upon asambhutihi or asambhavaha, maya also, cause also. Therefore, two upasanams are independently productive, effective. They both produce results independently. Therefore, both upasanams are angi upasane. Listen, both upasanams are angi upasanams. Therefore, what do you understand? They both can be combined. So, samuchayaha of these two upasanams is possible. This is what is established in this verse. Okay, we have to move on to the next verse. That's why I said we can quickly go. Because I prepared you already, it's not difficult for you, isn't it? Iti sushruma dhiranam. Again, the dhirana means literally, the word dhiraha, it may literally mean wise person. But here, it's not an Atma-jnani or not a Brahma-jnani, but a well-informed person who has profound knowledge in the field of karma and upasanam. Isn't it? Vedagyaha, Shastragyaha, very well-informed person, he knows. Which means they say what? Each upasanam is independently effective, productive, it produces its own phalam. Therefore, each upasanam is angi. They both happen to be two angis. The samuchaya of these two upasanams is possible. If we do samuchaya, upasana, if you combine these two and practice this meditation, as a result of which we'll get a much better result. Isn't it? Suppose if both the upasanas together produce only one result also, then we cannot call them angi. We can't, samuchaya is not possible. When you combine and do, you enjoy both the results. Understand? That is what is idea. So, iti sushrama dhiranam ye nastad vyacha chakshire. Let us see that next now. Sambhutincha vinashancha yastadveda ubhayagum saha vinashena mrityum tirtva sambhutya amrutam ashnute. Okay. Sambhutincha vinashamcha. We had to be very careful again. Understand mantras. Not knowing Sanskritam, you're simply listening means you simply listen and go. If you know little Sanskrit, you don't understand correctly, you get confused. Sambhutincha vinashancha. The word sambhutihi, you have to add R to sambhuti and make it asambhutihi. Why? Because sambhutihi is also name of Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha. Vinashaha is also name of Hiranyagarbha. Isn't it? Vinashaha. Because Hiranyagarbha alone undergoes a change. Isn't it? Therefore, because the two words used, sambhutihi, vinashaha, means both the words mean only Hiranyagarbha. Therefore, we have to add R to sambhuti, sambhavaha, sambhutihi, make it asambhutihi. Okay? Asambhutim vinashancha. Yaha tad ubayagum saha veda. The one he who meditates upon this Hiranyagarbha and asambhutihi. Hiranyagarbha and avyakritam. Those who meditate upon Hiranyagarbha as well as avyakritam. Avyakritam. I better learn the word avyakritam. I don't want to read the word unmanifest. English word will make you confused. Those who meditate upon Hiranyagarbha and avyakritam together. Saha. Ubayagum saha. Both together. Those who meditate upon. Means what? Those who meditate upon both. Together. Then what do they get? Vinashena mrityum tirtva sambhutya mritam ashnute. So, first vinashena means what? By this Hiranyagarbha upasana. By meditation upon Hiranyagarbha. Meditation upon Hiranyagarbha. What is the benefit? Mrityu taranam. Overcoming mrityuhu. Overcoming death, literally it means. And sambhutya amrutam ashnute. That is why after lunch you all should have a small nap, so you'll be fresh in the class. You should go for a nice walk, come back and have a small nap and have tea and come to the class fresh you'll be. Are you okay? Hope you haven't picked up anything from the air. You want some water? You got it? So what happens? Vinashena mrityum tirtva sambhutya amritam ashnute. What he says, as a result of these two, combination of these two meditations, one can enjoy two benefits. Both the results, both the fruits you can have the benefit. Two benefits, two results you can have. What is this? First is mrityu taranam. Mrityu taranam. Second is amrita ashanam. So ashanam means not eating here. Ashnati means eats. Ashnute means he attains, isn't it? One enjoys. Which means, here also, Shankara says in his commentary there, the word mrityu, if you practice two meditations together, what is the benefit you can have? Hiranyagarbha upasanam will bless you with Aishwarya praptihi. Aishwarya means what? You will be blessed with all eightfold Ashtama Siddhis. Okay, very difficult to get that. But okay, Ashtama Siddhis means what? Not only Ashtama Siddhis, you should not take it literally here. Aishwarya praptihi means what? Aishwarya means lordship. Again, understand, Aishwarya means overlordship. Ishwarasya bhavaha, isn't it? Aishwaryam. So overlordship is called being the mastery. You can have mastery. Once you have having a mastery means what? Having powers. See, when you say, we have to understand not only occult 8 Ashtama Siddhis, the worshipper of Hiranyagarbha, the meditator of Hiranyagarbha, one who meditates upon Hiranyagarbha will be blessed with the powers, more powers. See, yad bhavaha tad bhavati. This is the rule in meditation. Whatever you meditate upon, you become that. Okay. Suppose if you meditate upon all the time you really pay attention, you meditate upon, one power of Bhagavan, you get that power. You meditate upon Lakshmi, you get Lakshmi. Meditate upon Saraswati, you get good capacity to understand things. See, what you meditate upon, you will be blessed with that. It's typical, what you think of, you become that. Not simply casual thinking, okay? Seriously, all the time, focus, whatever, yad bhavaha tad bhavati. Is that whatever you think of, you become that. This is a basic, simple logic here. Which means, and who is Hiranyagarbha? Hiranyagarbha stands for Samashti Jnana Shakti, all omniscience. Samashti Kriya Shakti, all power of activity. And Samashti, Ichcha Shakti, isn't it? All Samashti Prana Shakti, all powers. Therefore, if you meditate upon Hiranyagarbha, isn't it? You will be blessed with the more and more of powers. When you have less powers, when you don't have powers, when you have less powers means you are weak. As a weak means what? You are enslaved. You become enslaved. So here Hiranyagarbha Upasanam will bless you because Hiranyagarbha stands for all the powers. The meditation upon Hiranyagarbha will bless you with what? More powers. The more powers you are blessed with as a result of meditation upon Hiranyagarbha, you will have having more powers. Means what? Having more powers means overcoming weakness, becoming strong, having mastery. So there's a shift from enslavement to master. It's called Mrityu Taranam, means literally overcoming death. Literal meaning is what? Mrityum Tirtva. The Twanta is what? Indeclinable participle. First it tells you, isn't it? That you really overcome death. Mrityuhu here, what is death here? In this context, Mrityuhu Mrityuhu means he says Anaishwaryam. Shankara gives his meaning what? Anaishwaryam. Anaishwarya means what? Anaishwarya means slavery, enslavement. So you overcome slavery, overcome enslavement. Even, when you are working as a slave to somebody, you have no freedom. Isn't it? Working for somebody, working under somebody means you have no freedom. You just have to do what other person tells you to do. Is it? That's sort of. So here, what we say, even the weakness also. Wherever, no? So weakness, so the being weak is being enslaved. Emotional weakness, physical weakness, isn't it? Any weakness is being enslaved. Isn't it? The slavery. So that's called anaishwaryam. Anaishwaryam means what? Absence of overlordship, isn't it? It is not there. So that you overcome that. So overcoming enslavement or slavery, isn't it? So becoming free from slavery, how do you become free from enslavement? By gaining more powers. Is it clear now? By gaining more powers, by becoming stronger, by having powers. Therefore, this is what mrityum tirtva. So sambhut, that's what he says. One gains, having gained all the powers, is it? Having gained all the powers, thereby freeing oneself from weakness and the slavery. This is the fruit of what? Hiranyagarbha upasana. So Hiranyagarbha upasanena, by meditating upon Hiranyagarbha, mrityum tarati. One overcomes slavery. One becomes strong. One becomes free from weaknesses. Which means how? By accomplishing, by being blessed with the blessings of Hiranyagarbha, you are blessed with lots of powers. How much can you be blessed with, isn't it? Keeping the intensity, you can have Ashtamaha Siddhis also. Anima, Garima, Mahima, Lagima, we have lots of powers. Even those powers also you can get. Sitting here, I can look like one small mosquito now. I can make myself a mosquito and still I can talk to you. You are so huge, I am sitting in front of you. If I had the powers, I can appear, I can become a small mosquito and I can sit here, I can talk. And you, my God, where is Swamiji? It's not disappeared. It's called Lagima, Anima, becoming tiny. Big. Lots of powers you can get, okay? Those. And also, the more knowledge, you become more knowledgeable person also. You can know more. Because Sarva Jnana Shakti, Samashti Jnana Shakti, Samashti Kriya Shakti, Samashti Prana Shakti. You have good health also. You can good health, good body, good digestion, good looks, everything. This is all. That's what Aishwarya means what? In keeping with your knowledge, you have the charisma, the looks and the appearance and whatnot. Isn't it? It's not in this janma. At least next janma, some people say, oh my God, look at the person's personality. We say that. Not just the external personality alone, physical personality alone. It also sometimes, even the talking is attractive. Lots of, in Vedic language we say varchas. Varchasvi bhavati. All these things we say, because very intelligent, very brilliant, and because of the clean life, you can see varchasvi, tejasvi, and all those things, and then attraction, even the one word, you can just get people, all sorts of shakti. How do you come? It's all Bhagavad Anugraha. It's all grace of Bhagavan. Grace of Bhagavan means you have earned the grace. Earning the grace means you have worked for it. Isn't it? Focusing on that. So whatever you meditate on, you get that. That is why what you place, that's why inner life has to be you have to be very cautious of your inner life. What you place attention on all the time is very, very important. Isn't it? So, Upasana Phalam this is. So, this is the benefit, this is the result of meditation. Vinashena mrityum tarati. Vinashaha here means what? Hiranyagarbha. Vinashena is equal to Hiranyagarbhena. Hiranyagarbhena is equal to Hiranyagarbha Upasanena. Yes? Hiranyagarbha Upasanena. So Hiranyagarbha Upasanena, by meditating upon Hiranyagarbha, one becomes free from Anaishwaryam. How? Aishwarya Praptya. By getting all Aishwaryam. By enjoying the overlordship, by having mastery, by having more powers in terms of knowledge, in terms of, doing activity, everything, one becomes free from slavery. This is the palam, isn't it? Aishwarya Prapti Dwara Anaishwarya, isn't it? That's called overcoming the Anaishwaryam, becoming free from Anaishwaryam. Isn't it? Slavery. Then, Sambhutya Amritam Ashnute. Got it now? You have to take it correctly. What is Aishwarya Praptihi here? What is Anaishwaryam here? Understand? So, Hiranyagarbha Upasanam blesses you with Aishwarya Praptihi. Isn't it? Once you have the Aishwarya Praptihi, what happens? Anaishwaryam goes away. Got it? Yeah. So, next, what happens by other Upasanam? Sambhutya Amritam Ashnute. Sambhutihi means here what? Avyakrit. Here, Sambhuti or? Yeah. Yeah, Asambhutya had take. Asambhutya Amritam Ashnute. So, Vinashena Mrityum Tirtva. And again, you have to put one avagraha. Okay? So, Asambhutya Amritam Ashnute. By meditating upon Asambhutihi or Avyakritam or Karanam, the cause, the unmanifest, okay? Meditating upon Asambhutihi, Avyakritam, what do you gain here? You had to remember, here Asambhutihi is equal to cause Maya, which has no beginning. Whereas Sambhutihi is Karyam, the effect, which is Hiranyagarbha. Understand? You are meditating upon both. So here, by meditating upon Hiranyagarbha, you get all powers. Thereby what now? You have Aishwaryam, lordship, become free from slavery. Anaishwaryam goes. Then, Asambhutya, by practicing by meditation upon Asambhutihi Avyakritam, Amritam Ashnute. Amritam Ashnute means one attains immortality. Again, you have to remember, in the context of karma, if the word Amritam is used, the immortality does not mean moksha here. It is Devatatma Bhavam, which means Amritam here means, Shankara makes it very clear in his commentary, Prakriti Layaha. It's called Prakriti Layaha. Asambhuti Upasana Phalam. Avyakrita Upasana Phalam. The benefit of meditating upon Asambhutihi Avyakritam is Prakriti Layaha. Prakriti Layaha means remaining in sleep for long time. What does it mean? When the Srishti, when there is the Pralayam happens, when there is the entire universe, the time of deluge, everything resolves, isn't it? Naturally. Time of deluge, dissolution, everything will resolve. Then again new Srishti comes, isn't it? And the next Srishti also, this meditator, this Asambhuti Upasakaha will not come back. He will have a long break, which means without he has no dukkham. In sleep, every day, layaha, you have little freedom. Isn't it? Temporary freedom. No sukham and dukkham. In death, you have little longer sleep, no sukham and dukkham. In pralaya, dissolution also, deluge also, what happens? When everything dissolves also, you have long rest. But it's a total holiday. For everybody, big break. It's only holiday. You have to come back. All of us will come back together in the new Srishti with our own unsettled issues of the previous Srishti. Understand? If you remain ignorant, we'll come back. Every time the new Srishti, isn't it? There's a new manifestation. Then what happens? We'll all come back with our old samskaras and old unsettled, unresolved issues. We'll come back. Why? As long as ajnanam is there, we'll be coming back. What? Birth after birth after birth after death after birth will be coming. And then when the Srishti itself comes to an end, at the time of Mahapralayam also what? We'll go, the whole Jagat will resolve, again will come back. Is it clear now? There is everything we don't even know. It's only we understand from the Shastram. It's called Mahapralayaha. Layaha, Pralayaha, Mahapralayaha. Isn't it? Pralayaha is death. Mahapralayaha is what? Deluge. But this Upasakaha, Asambhuti Upasakaha, one who meditates upon Avyakritam, even when the Srishti comes also, he will remain what? In sleep. Remaining in long sleep. The whole Srishti, imagine how long it is. Whole Srishti, he will not have any Sukha Dukkham. He will not come back. This is called Prakriti Layaha. Got it? Prakriti Layaha is an expression here. Prakriti Layaha means remaining in sleep. Remaining in sleep means what? Not experiencing Sukha Dukkham. How would it be if you want to know how you are in deep sleep? How you are very much there in your deep sleep. You are not non-existent in your sleep. You are very much there in your sleep. How you are in your sleep? In the same way, you will continue to be there in your death also. That's why for the person who is dead, there is no Sukham Dukkham. Why? Because the person will be in death also. Even the body is cremated, no problem. Still the person will be there very much with his own sukshma, how he is in sleep. You will be very much present, existent in sleep, in death also. Only thing is, your body will be cremated by other people. You cannot do it yourself. Understand what I'm saying? There's no problem. Then Mahapralayam also, it suppose even if the entire creation dissolves also, the time of dissolution also, nothing will happen to you. You will be exactly like how you are in sleep, how you are in death, which means what? Nothing happens to you in sleep. You are very much safe. Isn't it? Only thing is you are asleep. And you wake up. For you to wake up, isn't it? Karma wakes you up. Every day karma wakes you up from sleep. Prati dina prarabdha karma, sometimes the bread is here. Gluten-free bread is available here all the way. Brings a person from London to Sydney. From India to this place. Wherever, the jalam va, annam va, whatever little we have to go and finish, settle the account. My God, isn't it? All the way, this one Mandarin brings, if it is distant, isn't it? Amazing the order. So what I'm saying here, as the karma wakes you up, that means that day has to go. Is that day's experience is waiting for you. Sukham or dukkham are simply neutral, isn't it? You just some enjoyment, some experience, you wake up. Which means there is nothing happens to you, isn't it? What I want to say, what is the benefit of Asambhuti Upasana? You can remain. Otherwise what? You have to be born soon. Again, go through some life years. That is why it's called Apekshika Moksha. It's a temporary freedom. Temporary means what? You have long, whole srishti, one can remain in sleep. In subtle form. This is the Upasana Phalam. And other Upanishads talk about what? Hiranyagarbha Upasanam. This Asambhuti Upasanam means will help one to go to Brahmaloka. Brahmaloka Praptihi. And here this Upanishad says what? Uses this expression Prakriti Layaha. This is the Phalam. Oh, that's all. You may think. Imagine if you'll be asked to sleep for even for 10 days, you can't sleep together. 1 full day, you can't sleep together. Maximum you can sleep for some 10, 11 hours and will wake up. Hunger will wake you up and then natural cause will wake you up anyway, like that. What I'm saying, sleep means what? Without this, one can remain without assuming a body, without any suffering, one can remain in sleep for a long time. How? Not only during the Pralaya time, Pralaya Kala, during the time of dissolution, when the whole Jagat remains resolved, this person will be in sleep. Okay? Got it what I'm saying? Hope you're all following what I'm saying. And even after Srishti also, the whole Srishti also, this person will be in sleep, which is called Prakriti Layaha. That is the benefit of Asambhuti Upasana. In other Upanishads, we also hear the attainment of Brahmalokaha. Brahmaloka Praptihi. There's a higher world. But Upanishad does not, one difference between Upanishad and other texts from other cultures is, Upanishad says, whichever loka you go to, you can go to, because it requires lots of punyam, abundance of punyam one require to be eligible to go to that place, like how we need lot of money to go for a longer holiday. Similarly, you need lot of punyam to go to higher lokas, but even and then you have to work hard for that. Not that easy. Sambhuti Upasana is not that easy. Asambhuti Upasana, Hiranyagarbha Upasana, Avyakrita Upasanas are not that easy, isn't it? And you have to do both the Upasanams. And you have the samuchaya of these two Upasanams. If you do it properly, perfectly, do it, and for a long time, and as a result of which, after the death, not immediately, okay? After the death, when you leave the body, and then you will enjoy this. You will have Prakriti Layaha. Is it clear? The next Janma only you enjoy the benefits. Got it? So this is what is said in the next Janma, or even after the death, one will remain in sleep for a long time. Longest sleep one will have. Again, when that punyam also exhausts, again one will come back, etc. It is the result. So this is the Upasana Dvaya Samuchaya Phalam. Phalam means benefit. You know that? Yeah. So here I won't say the simple words, you have to make out. Okay, now we'll go to the next topic. So 14th also over. So now now we are going to enter into the 15th verse, 15, 16, 17, 18th. The rest of the 4 mantras of this Upanishad only have the prayer, prarthana. Prayer means, you can understand, definitely this person is not a wise person. Praying to, isn't it? He is praying. Praying for something which he does not have, isn't it? Which means they're still lacking. So prayer is there. And he is praying for what? He is praying for gatihi. It's called gati prarthana. Praying for travel. Who will pray for travel? A wise person who knows, isn't it? Everything is Atma. Such a person will not pray for travel. I want to go to Brahmaloka. You pray to go to Brahmaloka. Why? Which means, you see, for you Brahmaloka is different from you. For a jnani, for a wise person, Brahmalokam is already myself. Brahmalokam is myself already. Pitrulokam is already myself. Any yanam, any road, any path is already myself. Any pleasure that enjoyable is myself. Already everything, for a wise person who says everything is Atma, that person, there is no travel for him. He will not pray for gati, any journey, any travel, any good path. Put me on the right track, Lord, please, so that I'll reach there correctly. He will not pray. So the very prayer implies what? An ajnani only is praying for the good gati. What is good gati and bad gati? A wise person will not pray for any gati at all, travel at all. Good gati, isn't it? The absolute gati means moksha. Moksha is the absolute gatihi, paramagatihi. Why? Once you discover moksha, there is no travel. The reaching which the journey comes to an end is the absolute end. So here moksha, without going anywhere physically, without traveling anywhere even subtly also, no subtle travel, no gross travel, isn't it? No travel on the physically also no travel, subtly also there's no travel. Without traveling anywhere, you discover moksha, as fullness, as in your own surupam, in your own mind means, and you resolve everything. When you falsify everything as mithya, you seeing yourself as the absolute truth, ultimate truth, and that discovery of moksha is what? Parama padam, isn't it? Which is absolute end, discovering which no journey will be there anymore. There won't be any journey. Because for a jnani who leaves the physical body, jnani while living, he lives as a jivan muktaha. He is free already while living. And after the parabdha gets exhausted also, the body becomes disintegrated. Subtle body also resolves. Because mind will be resolved. There won't be subtle body anymore for a wise person. There won't be mind anymore for a subtle person. Because ignorance is resolved means the mind resolves. Therefore, there is no more punarjanma. There is no rebirth for a wise person. Therefore, there is no travel again. There is no coming back. Punaragamanam kutaha. Isn't it? There is no punaragamanam. The return is not possible for a wise person. Even if his previous existence also, we can't trace really that the wise person was there. Mundakopanishad says very beautifully, when the fish swims in the water, you can't see the footprints of this fish in the water. You can't find the footprints of the bird which is flying there in the sky. Similarly, the wise person, you can't find the footprints of the wise person means what? Nothing will be left behind. Isn't it? He will not come back. Why? There's no such thing called a wise person being born again. A jnani will not be born again. This is called videha muktihi, isn't it? Therefore, where is the journey for a wise person? The subtle body will resolve when the mind resolves in the wake of jnanam. Mind will resolve for good. Subtle remains in the physical body. How long? As long as the parabdha is. When the parabdha is exhausted, when the wise person sukshma leaves the physical body, then mind will resolve for good, the entire Sukshma will resolve for the good. Because Sukshma is just subtle, isn't it? There's no trace, there's no assumption of another body, which is muktihi, jivan videha muktihi. There's no travel, no journey on the part of a wise person. Is it clear? This has become very clear. Then, who has the journey then? Every ajnani will have travel. Because when the prarabdha gets exhausted, the physical body, is cremated. We are going to see that also. Physical body cremation also is a yajna. I tell you, there's also final yajna, I tell you. And then, so this Sukshma, what happens? Sukshma, in keeping with the previous punya papas, next pet of prarabdha will be ready. Accordingly, will assume a body. Again, there will be birth, isn't it? This is what now, assuming another body, being born again is what? Again, it's a travel. You have traveled, left this body, gone out, again taken a new body, again born again, means a journey. Repeatedly, isn't it? Going, coming, means what? Changing the bodies is going and coming. You as an individual with the Sukshma, you continue to be there. Because as long as ignorance is there, is endless. Endless it is. How many bodies I'll be assuming? We can't say number you can't write and give, this many bodies. How long do you think you'll have ajnanam? So long, we don't know how many bodies we will have. If we have Vastu Papam also, then we may even go down. Going down means what? You can crawl, jump, hop. Okay, that also we can have, if you miss it. Now what I want to say, in keeping with your prarabdha karma phalam, you will be taking body again and again and again and again. There is no end. That is why life is a beginningless, endless cycle of births and deaths, which is called life of transmigration. Migrating from one mother's womb to another mother's womb, migrating from one body to another body, isn't it? This is samsaraha, samyak sarati, samsara. This will be there for ajnani. Whereas if the ajnani, even as ajnani also, if a person lives a disciplined life and practices upasanam, as a result of which he has lots of punyam. Because of this abundance of punyam he has accumulated by through these upasanams, Hiranyagarbha upasana or Avyakrita upasana, as a result of which he can go to even higher lokas. In subtle form, he can have temporary moksha for long sleep. The whole srishti he can remain in sleep, which is called prakriti layaha. Therefore, before entering into these verses where an ajnani is praying for the good gati, which means, why good gati and bad gati? Is there a good gati and bad gati? There's no bad gati. Relatively good, better gati, good and better gatis. Why? Because the Shastram talks about two paths. One is called Pitruyanaha. Pitruyanaha means, Yanaha means the path leading to Pitruloka, world of maids. Devayanaha, path leading to world of Devas. No, the Deva, which means the higher loka. Higher and much higher loka. And one is called the path, this all only matter for belief. Because Shastram says we cannot disprove it, therefore we do not reject it, but nor do we accept it because we cannot prove it also. We can just be neutral to it. Okay, Shastram says we accept it. But there are people who pray for these lokas, and for which only they practice this. Okay, if you practice this Avyakrita upasana, please, if you find, I think you have to be really attentive because I had to talk, isn't it? If you find it too boring, if you feel restless, and you can please, you can have a small walk, go for a small walk and come back to the class. I'm just telling people who feel restless about this teaching. So there are two paths. One is Pitruyanaha, one is Devayanaha. And go into two different lokas. Pitruyana leads to Pitruloka, world of mains. Devayana leads to world of Devas, Devaloka. Devaloka, Pitruloka. Two different lokas. One is higher, one is much higher. So the path to this Pitruloka is called Krishna Gatihi, dark path, or lunar path, Chandra Gatihi. We say all these words we use, different. And then we say there is another path leading to Devaloka is called Shukla Gatihi, bright path. Who knows which path? Don't ask me which bus goes, which train goes and all that. Which aircraft goes, which airlines arranges that and all. If airlines people, they can do, they will do that also. But they have limitation. Okay, yeah, no aircraft. If we can try with Qantas maybe. Okay, now what I want to say, these are something which, not physical travel, isn't it? Completely sukshma travel. The travel, only what travels is subtle body, not this sthula shariram. That is why you can't even, suppose somebody is going subtly means, oh, I can see. Now with the microscope, I have special eyes, I can see all those things, okay? You can never see. Your eyes can never pick up subtle. Because sukshma does not reflect light. That is why you have the problem. You cannot, it doesn't reflect light, you cannot see it. Okay? Nor can the sukshma relate, see, oh, you see me going by this way, see. I'm very happy, they're all seeing me going. You can't have the proud, you can't feel proud of being seen by others, you're going to higher locals. There's no really joy in it. Others see you going somewhere high, you're enjoying better. Others should see you enjoying Gandharva singing. Oh my God, look at this fellow has the opportunity to see. No pleasure. You will be all alone by yourself. That is why there's no fun there. Anyway, so you go on your own to the higher lokas. Okay? The Prakritilayaha, Devaloka, Devatatma. That's why Devatatma Bhavaha means what now? You become, the Devaloka, you become Indra, the positions, Indra, Varuna, the Devas, become one with Devas. What you meditate on, you become that. And go to Pitruloka. So sometimes this here, the Prarthana is for Shukla Gati. This person says, I have made all possible efforts. I have practiced that Upasanam. I have done what? Samuchaya. No? I have combined both Upasanams. I practiced both Prakriti Upasanam and also Hiranyagarbha Upasanam. You can also call it Prakriti Upasanam, Avyakrita Upasanam or Prakriti Upasanam, isn't it? This all I practiced both, combined both. Samuchaya so I practiced. Now I have the result. Now I have the punyam. I have practiced it, I have the punyam. So you have worked for it, you deserve it. Even though you deserve, still then why do you need to pray? Because you have done the needful, isn't it? Which means you deserve it. If I deserve, I get it. If I don't deserve, I don't get it. Which means, then should I pray or not? If I don't deserve, I don't get it. If I deserve, I definitely get it. Then why should I pray? The thing is, you have worked for it, you deserve it, but still there may be some impurities, something, some pratibandha may be there. You need to pray also. Do what needs to be done, then pray. Is it for grace? Then whatever you have done will be effective. There's a Pati Prarthana here. So he prays for Shukla Gatihi. He does not want Krishna Gati. He does not want to go to Pitruloka. He wants to go to, it's like some people don't want to go to Middle East. They prefer America or Australia because at least they can buy some house here, settle there. But no way, any day you will be chased out of the country. That is why, this is like typical, even though you get more money there, you have no tax problems. Saving potential is very high. Still people prefer these countries, not Middle Eastern countries. Why? Because you cannot own anything there, isn't it? Like that. Like that here also, people... Yeah. So still, like that, no, he doesn't want to go to Pitraloka, he wants to go to Brahmaloka. Why? Because once you go to Pitraloka, Punyam gets exhausted, enjoying good pleasures, suddenly you'll be pushed back one day. But at least if you go to this loka, there's possibility of attaining Kramamuktihi. You know, not Sadyomuktihi, Kramamuktihi, isn't it? There somehow again, remaining in that, you can attain, there's possibility of attaining moksha from there also. You can resolve your body from there itself. The Sat Sukshma, you can dissolve from there. Therefore, this person is praying for Kramamuktihi, or you can say he's praying for Brahmaloka Praptihi. That's why he wants to travel to this path, not this Krishna Gati, but Shukla Gatihi. Devayanaha he wants. It's called Gati Prarthana. Because sometimes if you are not adequately pure, something, because that needs lots of only punyam you have, you can go to Devaloka. If you have only papam, you will go to Adoloka, isn't it? Other beings. You have both punyam and papam, human. Yeah. Punya, papa, mishra. If you have mixture of punyam and papam, then only you can have human body. You can, all of us are, in that way you can feel. Nobody is superior, inferior, because all of us have punyam and papam mixture. That's why we got this particular body. Here again, proportion may vary from person to person. And accordingly, your looks and the knowledge and money, it's the comforts you enjoy, everything what? It's also in keeping with what you have. At least in this Janma, if a buddhi, at least Bhagavan has blessed you with good buddhi, that also special, some, isn't it? Some blessing. That's why anugraham, for everything anugraha only, grace only. You got. So what I want to say, therefore this person is praying for. But here, before entering here, Shankara Bhagavad-pada presents 3 important points in his commentary. Before entering into this Gati Prarthana portion, not something new, okay, very old. Bid always likes this point. He makes it one thing very clear. See, any karma you do, and for which he also quotes a mantra from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I say briefly, okay, I'm not giving all the bhashyam, but I just tell you few things. See, how much ever karma you do, if a person lives a Vedic way of life, suppose a person, we do 41 samskaras. Even before the birth itself, the samskara starts. The prayer begins before even the individual comes into existence. The parents pray for this person, individual, who is going to be born. And the day of conception, Garbhadanam, as soon as the conception takes place, Garbhadanam is conception. Immediately there is a prayer. Then prenatal sacraments, prayers are done by parents. Garbhadanam, Pumsavanam and Seemanto Nayanam, all those prenatal. 3, okay, we can say. And outward Jata Karma, Annapashanam, Aksharabhyasaha, Chaulam, Mundanam, even the hair remove, first hair remover, all those things we have, Upanayanam, then marriage, Vivaha, like this, we have 41. The 41st is called Antyeshti. Ishtihi means puja. Ishtihi means yajna, an act of offering. It's also worship. Can you believe Antya Ishtihi means, so before birth, after death, others will do the karma for the refinement of this person. Now, that is why the cremation is very important in Vedic culture, because, when the marriage happens, at the time of marriage, this person is eligible to perform a special ritual called Agnihotram, which is a daily worship which every married person should start doing. It's like everyday worship is how important. Every day, those days, don't ask nowadays, okay? People will ask, what is Agnihotram? So, every day has to perform To perform that, one must become married, householder. So only on the day of marriage he'll start this. And after marriage only, and he has to really get the fire. From the father who has been performing Agnihotra for a long time, from him he must take the Agni. You can't just go and get some, bring one lighter, no, just light it, no. This fire must have been brought from the fire which has been being kept, alive. They don't put off, like how you all have this, no, that live fire will be there in the house. Maybe the father must have got from his father. For generations, there must be the fire which is kept alive in the families. And from that fire, from his father, this person will take. It's called Garhapatya Agnihi. Avahani Agnihi. Now they'll get the fire and then he should start doing it. Okay? And that fire, when he starts, from that day onwards, after married, he is qualified to perform the ritual which is a worship. And he will be doing it. When this person passes away, and they'll take fire from here only. This fire only he'll take it. From this fire they'll take it, okay, to kindle first. From this fire only they'll take it, and then they will cremate the body. And cremation also is not throwing, it is offering to Agni Bhagavan. The body has, because it seems whoever is cremated, the time the body is cremated, immediately some sort of subtle body Agni Bhagavan gives, it seems, to the departed soul. Some subtle form, very subtle, something incomprehensible, not available for perception, isn't it? They say Agni Bhagavan, therefore some subtle form, okay? Shastram says this. Therefore, this body actually, you get it from Agni Bhagavan. So you give it back to Agni Devata. Offer it. It's an offering. It's a yajna. In fact, cremation is a yajna. Antya ishti. Isn't it? So you can't do it yourself. Others will do it. The body is offered to Agni Bhagavan, which is an offering. Offered back. You got it, enjoyed it, used it, return it. For recycling. Really. Isn't it? For disintegration, return it. It's called finished. But you got it, you gave it, and you go back, get a new one, fresh one. Isn't it? This is what the fact. So here that's why what he wants to say, the idea is, I just went out simply talking about, because he mentioned, I want to say so much, but I didn't want to say because a lot of Sanskrit. Now what I want to say, like this, even going through all these 41 samskaras, going to know the marriage is also samskara for us. Marriage also is for refinement only. Marriage is for three things. One is for the refinement, your own individual, mental refinement, emotional well-being, refinement. We have become finer, cultured-minded. Then perpetuation of dharma, for progeny, for perpetuation of dharma. Two main things. This is what marriage is for, isn't it? Then emotional companionship also. It's not just things. So this is what so if you have Shastram as a companion after a certain age, then you will not really miss the other companions, really. As a young age is okay. As we go older means you have to learn to be emotionally, you have the Shastram as your companion, then you can be by yourself. There's also a clean life, isn't it? So at a young age is okay. Mainly for perpetuation of dharma, you need children, progeny. So for marriage. And because living together, unknown person, unknown woman, unknown man, come together, husband and wife, two different families, a lot of not knowing anybody here before, they wouldn't have dated also, not known anybody, suddenly becoming very close to each other, means a lot of adjustments, isn't it? And then they in the process, accommodating each other, putting up with each other, loving each other, sometimes getting angry with each other also, they grow. Mental refinement. It's also for growth. That's why for marriage is for mental refinement. Vivaha also. Anyway, so what I want to say, like this, all these samskaras, everything that is done is a ritual form of what's all karma. Karma means not simply doing something. It's all the Vedic karmas, rituals for refinement of an individual. So what he wants to say in this context, right from this Garbhadanam until the Antyeshti, doing all these different types of rituals, going through all these things, done by others, and you yourself are part of rituals, then after again until Antyeshti also, performing all sorts of rituals, practicing these upasanas, Hiranyagarbha upasana, Prakriti upasana, isn't it? Called Avyakrita upasana, practicing all these things also. How much ever karma you do, the highest benefit, the greatest benefit you can have by as a result of these karma is only attainment of Brahmalokaha, or Prakriti Layaha is the greatest result you can have. Is it worth struggling so much? So much? There is no moksha. Understand why it's discussed here? To make it very clear, don't slog too much. Do enough to live, isn't it? And then better save your time and energy for jnanam. Understand what I'm saying? This is what he wants to say. This is the main point he wants to say is this. What the highest benefit you can have is Prakriti Layaha Brahmaloka Praktihi. Not anything else. Is it clear? And saying this, he enters into the mantra.